Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the NBL1 show, and what a bumper show we've got for you this week. My name is Megan Hustwaite. Well, we had a fantastic mental health round across Australia last weekend. It was amazing to see the clubs, the players and the conferences and the fans, of course, get behind an amazing initiative raising much needed awareness and fun. So congrats and thank you to everyone involved in that. Now let's talk about the action, because plenty happened. Then there were three. There are just three undefeated teams left in NBL1 after the Northside Wizards experienced their first loss of the NBL1 North campaign at the weekend. We'll talk to John Guana all about that. We had a massive 450 game milestone in NBL1 West. Greg Hyers got all of the details. And back to NBL1 North, another 52 piece, but it wasn't Jason Cadee who put up the big numbers. And some of the opals were missing from NBL1. That's because they are in camp this week ahead of the Asia Cup, which starts in Sydney next Monday. Anyway, let's get into the show now. We've also got a guest coming up as well. Ballarat import Jack Davidson will join me when we discuss NBL1 South. Let's get into it. After a bye, NBL1 Central was back in action at the weekend, and to discuss all things happening in South Australia is Tristan Prentice. Welcome, Tristan.
Hello, Megan. It's great to talk hoops again with you about NBL1 Central. Let's get straight into it. Mental health round, of course, was an important cause on the weekend, but there was some great basketball as well.
Well, we've spoken about Michaela Williams often during the season, being a Halls medal contender, and she continues to lead the undefeated Sabres.
Well, they would challenge the Sabres in this one by the West Adelaide Bearcats, but as you said, the reigning Halls medalist Michaela Williams really went to work in this one. 17 points and 8 rebounds in her side's 55-78 win over last year's champions, the West Adelaide Bearcats. The Sabres were really sharp in the second half with 46 points to 22. They had 35 points from their Pine and another masterful performance from the Sturt Sabres, who are now on a 13-game winning streak and look very hard to stop this season, Megan.
Well, the Eagles had an upset over the Panthers, and that was thanks to a big double-double from one of their stars.
A young star in the making here in NBL1 Central, I feel, Megan. Definitely up there for the Merv Harris Award later in the year. Maddie Freer flew again for the Eagles with a double-double of 16 points and 11 rebounds in a 64-50 win over the South Adelaide Panthers at the Nest. Jess Simons, another up-and-coming young star as well, was vital with 11 points, 7 rebounds and 4 assists for the Eagles as well. But they got it done as a flock of birds in this one. The contributors from absolutely everywhere, and it was only Holly Forbes hurting them from the Panthers side with 15 points and 9 rebounds. There's some concerning times ahead for the South Adelaide Panthers by the looks of things, Megan, but the Eagles got a really crucial win in their season.
And finally, Brooke Basham and Lauren Mansfield team up together off the court with their coaching, and they continue to do it on the court for the Rockets.
Absolutely, they do, Megan. That WNBL combo is super here in the NBL1 Central, and they are at it again against the highly competitive Woodville Warriors. They lifted their Rockets to a 58-83 win at the Castle at St Clair. Basham dropped 25 points at 53%, including 13 points in the third quarter, paired with 5 assists, while Mansfield collected 19 points, 9 assists and 5 rebounds. For the Warriors, Nicole Franson posed problems for the Rockets early, but was halted, still posting 19 points and 14 rebounds in a classy double-double, Megan. It was a great performance from the Rockets, and they're continuing to, rocket their way up the ladder in NBL1 Central 2023.
Let's turn focus to the men's side of all things NBL1 Central now, and Anthony Drumick is a name we've spoken about all season. He's provided highlights all season long as well, and he provided another one in epic fashion at the weekend.
He certainly did, Megan. Anthony Drumick is one that is having a huge impact here in NBL1 Central, and he's done it again. He's drained a buzzer beater. It kept the West Adelaide Bearcats top of the table. They won 93-91 at home over the Sturt Sabres at the Bearcat Cave. Now, Drumick only collected 15 points and 15 rebounds, but that bucket, of course, was a go-ahead one right at the end of the game. But it was teammate Mitch McCarron with 21 points, 8 rebounds and 6 assists. Lachlan Ulbrich with 21 points and 8 rebounds, and Nick DeSantis with 18 points to keep the scoreboard ticking over. But the Sabres, who are one of the best defensive teams in the league in the men's, had Jordan Forbes narrowly miss a triple-double with 18 points, 9 assists and rebounds. And with him, Jacob Rigoni had 20 points and 7 rebounds. And, of course, newly signed Adelaide 36er Keanu Rasmussen, 27 points and 4 steals. They brought the Sabres back into the game in the last quarter, only to be down by the Dreamic Dagger, Megan. It was the first of 3 games against the top 6, where each of the top 6 played off against each other in a very important round of NBL1 Central.
Speaking of newly re-signed players, and Eagles soared at the weekend too.
Absolutely. Malik Mashar back with Melbourne United, and United the second place Forestville Eagles as they scored their second straight win over the fourth place South Adelaide Panthers, 107-80 at the Nest. Very convincing win from the Forestville Eagles. Mashar was magnificent with 21 points, 9 rebounds, and supported ably by Brad Rathjen with a double-double of 18 points, 10 assists and 5 rebounds. Adam Doyle was dishing out dimes again. 9 assists, 18.4 rebounds and 3 steals for him. The Panthers were down Jared Hoppo and also Daniel Johnson again. So it was up to former Adelaide 36er development player and roster player Sam Johns, who wound the clock back, leading the Panthers with 23 points and 5 assists, with new 36er Alex Starling notching another double-double of 17 points, 18 rebounds and 3 assists. Like I was saying before, Megan, the South Adelaide Panthers are down a few players at the moment, but the Forestville Eagles looking strong, and they take second place on the ladder outright now.
And finally, it was a 3-point shooting display from David Humphries, who lifted the Warriors to a key win.
And Humphries was definitely not silent on Saturday night, Megan, in a must-win game for the Warriors in a mid-table clash against the North Adelaide Rockets. Humphries rolled back to his All-Star 5 form of 2022 with an emphatic 31 points with 8 triples at 50% and 8 rebound display in the 5th place Woodville Warriors' crucial 102-93 win over the 6th place North Adelaide Rockets at the Castle. Joe Jackson also returned to his best with a double-double of 16 points and 10 rebounds, while the Rockets' Riley Harrop had 24 points and Coop McCallum 22 points and 9 rebounds. Darryl McDonald was particularly good in this game as well, spreading his stats widely across the game and nearly giving the Rockets a chance to get back into it right at the end there, Megan. But the Warriors claim a crucial win in the split over the North Adelaide Rockets, which could determine whether they make the finals at the very end of the season, Megan.
Some crunch games coming up around the country this weekend, round 12, included in NBL1 Central, and we'll chat to you about that and plenty more next week. Thanks for your time, Tristan.
No problem at all, Megan. Southern Tigers versus Norwood Flames should be a great battle in the women's, and in the men's, Sturt Sabres versus the Forestville Eagles. The split is just 3 points. It's all on the line between 3rd and 2nd place on the ladder.
Well, after a bye, NBL1 East was back in action at the weekend and covering all of the play as usual is Jacinta Govind. Welcome, Jacinta. Great to have you back on the show.
Yes, thank you. After a well-earned rest over the long weekend, NBL1 East and myself was back at it.
Well, let's start with Albury because there was plenty going on for the Bandits at the weekend. The women finally unveiled their championship banner. It's taken a little while to have everyone in the one place, so that was great to see, but also there was a very big performance for the men.
Yes, that's right. It was Lachlan Cummings from the Albury Wodonga Bandits men's team. He really came alive this weekend against the Central Coast Crusaders in a must-win for the Bandits as they try to keep their finals hope alive. Cummings had 36 points, 4 rebounds and 6 assists with an overall shooting percentage of 58%. And Lachlan Cummings, his name may be familiar to those who pay close attention to the NBL and NBL1. Similarly, when we talked about Tony Tolliver a couple of weeks ago, Lockie Cummings is actually native to Perth. And so he grew up playing for the likes of Willetton and Perry Lakes. And he was also a development player for the Perth Wildcats from 2017 to 2019. So If that name rings true, then that's probably why. But Lachlan was also strongly supported by Jameer Coleman, who we affectionately nicknamed Liquid Smoke in one of the early episodes of the NBL1 show. And he had 28 points and 16 rebounds with a shooting percentage of 63%.
Let's move on to the North Bears because they were involved in a thriller.
Yes, they sure were. The North Bears snatched a crucial win from the jaws of the Sutherland Sharks in round 13. After losing the third quarter 23-9, the Bears managed to claw their way back to win the game by just 2 points. And they were without Junior Madut this round, but Robert Moore was the best for the Bears in this particular occasion with 21 points and 6 rebounds. So now with that result, as it's getting very tight on the ladder to heading towards finals, the North men stay at a healthy third place and the Sharks still at fourth.
Now the road to finals is starting to find its way, so there were some crucial results at the weekend that will impact that.
Yes, that is correct. There were, especially in the men's competition, including the Canberra Gunners, they got a 13-point win over the Illawarra Hawks to cement themselves at fifth place, which is especially a good result considering the defending champions of the inaugural NBL1 East competition, the Gunners, had a bit of a slow start to the season. So it's great to see them at fifth place with probably about 4 rounds to go after the weekend. And also the Maitland Mustangs had a very healthy 18-point win over the Sydney Comets. So these wins this win in particular is probably really important for Maitland, not just for the position on the ladder, but just to make sure they get some handy for and against points down the stretch.
Let's keep the Maitland theme going because the women had a win over the Comets, but it was a bit more narrow than 18 points.
Yeah, it sure was. It was an absolute thriller 1-point win in overtime as well. So as the game went on, the last shot came down to Shakira Riley, who is a standout for the Maitland Mustangs. Unfortunately, her attempt for the game winner missed, but there was plenty of time for Sydney Hunter, one of the standout imports for the Mustangs, who got a tip in and won the game on the buzzer. And Hunter ended up that game with 16 points and 14 rebounds. So the trend definitely for her performance, went all the way through to overtime when the Mustangs needed it the most. But she was also supported by their other import, Maddie Washington, who had 18 points in 29 minutes before unfortunately being fouled off. But that's not to say that the Comets didn't do their best. They definitely relied on Shyla Hill, who had 35 points, 5 rebounds and 7 assists for that game.
Sydney beats Sydney. Love that in NBL1 East. It's sort of the NBL1 East version of Jade Melbourne and Melbourne in the WNBL. So definitely love a pun there. Let's talk about Manly because deservingly so, they've got top status.
Yeah, they are certainly going strength to strength. So they did lose against Central Coast Crusaders last round in an absolute thriller and probably one of the best games all season in the men's or women's competition, but they bounced back really well with this big win over the COE. And the Sea Eagles were led by Kimberly Hodge, who had 22 points, and Alex Delaney had a very nice double-double with 17 points and 11 rebounds. But the recent UC cap signing, Jada Clark, she was the best for the COE with 19 points. Otherwise, Manly did a very good job of keeping the COE's main scorers pretty limited on the stat sheet.
Looking forward to seeing what Jada Clark does the rest of this NBL1 East campaign heading into her debut WNBL season. Let's finish with Sutherland and Norths because that was a high scoring tussle.
Yeah, it's probably 2 of the best games of the round all happened in the one place between the same clubs, being Sutherland and Norths. But this time was the Sutherland Sharks women who beat Norths in also a very prolific scoring affair, with the last quarter was 28-32 in favour of the North Bears. But it was Loz Nicholson, our opal that we've talked about before. She just stuffed the stat sheet in this game and flirted with another triple-double. So she finished the game with 35 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists and 4 steals. And for Norths, though, it was their import Jolene Anderson. She definitely wasn't going away quietly either as she tried to put the team on her back and get this win. and she ended the game with 32 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists. And that 32 points included 10 from 15 from the three-point line. So I think that's probably the most outstanding three-point percentage and performance that we've seen in the league, in the women's competition especially so far.
Yeah, it was great to see. It'll be great to see Lauren Nicholson and Shyla representing the Opals in the FIBA Asia Cup beginning next week in Sydney. Proud New South Wales girls, of course, but their teams will be without them for at least the next 2 weekends. Jacinta, great to catch up and look forward to doing it again this time next week.
Sounds good. I'll see you then.
Time to catch up with a guest when we talk all things NBL1 South this week. He is the points per game leader in the men's conference. He is from downtown Ballarat. Welcome, Jack Davidson.
Hi, Megan. Thanks for having me.
Now, you're having a terrific season personally. The Miners have been a bit up and down at times, but take us through how you found adjusting to NBL1.
Yeah, it's been really good. Like you said, team-wise, we've been a little up and down, but I think a lot of that can be attributed to like we just haven't been healthy, fully healthy for pretty much the whole year, and we're starting to get back fully healthy. Sunday was a little disappointing for us. Thought we could have played better. We should have played better, but we still have a chance down the stretch to put some wins together and hopefully make a run. So that's the plan. But the adjustment's been really good. You know, my teammates have made me feel very welcome. Coach Luke Sunderland's been great. It's been really easy acclimating to his system. So I've been blessed to be put in a pretty good situation to start my professional career.
What has your role been in the team? Because there are a lot of scorers when you have been healthy, which has been limited at times this season. Can you tell us a bit about your role?
Yeah, I'm definitely looked upon as a shooter, as a scorer, but also someone that can get in the paint and distribute, facilitate for others, be a high energy guy. So I'm just looking to create for others. And then score when that opportunity presents itself. And my teammates and the coaching staff has done a really good job of putting me in those situations.
Now, tell us a bit about your journey to Ballarat. You had an incredible college career. Take us through what you have achieved.
Yeah, so I went to Wabash College, which is a Division III school in the States. And I ended up there. It was a high academic school, and the coaches recruited me really hard. So, I mean, a lot of people have aspirations to play Division I or Division II, but my path was just a bit different. And my game really developed while I was there. I was blessed with a really good coaching staff and really good teammates, and I was able to flourish in that system. And then after my college career, hired an agent, and my agent knew Coach Luke Sunderland pretty well, and that's kind of how I got in contact with him, and started out here. So. A different path for sure. I know a lot of people from Division III don't end up going pro, but I want to kind of change that narrative of guys from Division III can't play at a high level. And I think there's some really, really good players that play at that level. And I really want to prove that.
Well, how important is it for you to be able to display that you can take the scenic route to where you want to achieve goals in your career? Because I think a lot of times within basketball, it's sort of seen when you're coming through the ranks that there's a one direction to get to the top, but I'm sure you want to be a bit of a poster boy for sort of making your own path.
Right. Yeah. Everybody has a different path. Everybody has a different story. And I don't think it really matters where you come from. I think everyone can thrive in certain situations, and my situation just happened to be at the Division III level. And I took advantage of my opportunity. And I'm a big proponent of if you put in the work, trust your game, and have confidence, results will come. So I'm just going to continue to try to work hard every single day, trust in my game, have a ton of confidence, and see where it takes me.
Love that. Now, as you mentioned, your agent knew Coach Luke Sunderland. What were you told about Australia before you got here?
To be honest, not a whole lot. I just knew, like, reputation-wise, I thought Australia was going to be this really warm all year round. But as you know, in Ballarat, it gets pretty cold here in the winters. So wasn't quite expecting that, but it's been really good. I've been able to travel a little bit, get up to Sydney, been to the city in Melbourne quite a bit. So I've loved it. I've loved every minute of it, and the people here are great. been really welcoming. So it's blown my expectations out of the water, and I'm really happy with the situation I've been put in.
That's fantastic. Now, you're from Indiana, so you know a cold winter, but I'm
Right.
a Ballarat girl. I know that the winters different in Ballarat. I was up
Yeah.
there for your game on Saturday night. It's cold, baby. How are you coping with the conditions in your first Ballarat winter?
Yeah, it's cold, but it's not too bad. Like you said, I've been in some cold winters in Indiana. We get snow, frigid temperatures. So the only two things that's tough is back home. It's summer right now. So I see all my friends out on the water and having a good time in the sun. And I'm like, yeah, it's pretty cold here, but it's not too bad. I'm in the gym most of the time anyway, so I can live with it.
Now, who is one of the best players or toughest opponents you've come up in NBL1 South this season?
Yeah, there's quite a few. I mean, the league's really high level. I think playing Ben Ayer from Sandringham, he's a really good player. That was a fun matchup to have and something I looked forward to. And then Nick Marshall from Mount Gambier, who didn't play yesterday, but we played them in the preseason and was really impressed with his overall game. But just like I said, every team has really high level players. And that's why you got to be ready to play every single night in this league, or you're going to get beat.
Yeah, it's so true. Now, you split your double at the weekend at home. You've got Kilsyth this weekend. They're on the same points as you, so a good opportunity to try and get another W here.
Right, yeah, we're going to have to start stringing some wins together to make a run towards the postseason. So we know we just have to take it one game at a time, and that starts Saturday. So just really got to focus in on the defensive side of the ball for us, and hopefully start stringing some wins together.
Now, I know you're taking it one game at a time, but what is next for you post NBL1? Are you looking to hang around in Australia, perhaps?
Yeah, I'd love to. We'll just have to see what happens after the year. Having conversations with my agent about possibilities here and maybe elsewhere in Europe as well. So we'll just have to see what happens. But yeah, just really focused on the end of this year and hopefully closing it out strong with Ballarat, and then we'll see what happens after that.
Well, it's been great to chat to you and hear a bit more about your journey, Jack. Good luck to you and the Miners for the rest of the NBL1 South season, and stay warm.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and thanks for having me on.
Well, I missed this man on the show last week, but he's back in business. Hello, Greg Hire.
Oh, I've missed you too, Meg. I'm in the beautiful part of Newman, regional Pilbara. So taking the show all over Australia. You're going to love it.
That's what we love to see. We also love to see a massive milestone, and there was a wonderful one for a legend of WA basketball at the weekend.
Yeah, I was hoping you were going to pronounce her name so I didn't butcher it, but no, you're completely right. Nicole Jaw, D. St. Jaw, reached the 450 game milestone. Ironic that she matched up against one of the, I guess, the rivals or someone that she was chasing, Casey Milovic, for the Mandurah Magic. But an incredible effort by Nicole. Like, I mean, she's a club stalwart for Warwick. She's played across the league for a handful of teams. She's played for the East Perth Eagles. She's played for the Joondalup Wolves and now for the Warwick Senators. And, she's not, I guess, playing the role that she would have done early in her career in a more dominating aspect, but she's certainly mentoring some of those up-and-coming youngsters, Chloe Forster, Mackenzie Clinch-Hoycard. And so she had 8 points off the bench in a really, I guess, much-needed win against Mandurah Magic. They've been plagued by inconsistency, and Mackenzie Clinch-Hoycard was sensational with 23 and 13. But really pleasing to see Nicole reach that 450-game milestone. Incredible effort by her.
An exceptional achievement. Congratulations to Nicole. Certainly a lot of legends doing their thing in WA. Let's move on to Willetton because they had a crucial weekend.
Yeah, massive. They now sit at third on the ladder after going 2-0, and they were tested on Friday night and came back with an incredible result. Rockingham Flames were, I guess, no pun intended, the hottest team in WA, and were riding a 9-game winning streak just behind Kirburn in terms of form. But Willetton went into their home court and absolutely smashed them, led by Desiree Kelly. She nearly had an incredible triple-double, incredible line, 30 points, 9 boards and 8 assists. And Alex Sharp, she was dominating again, 18 points and 18 rebounds of 6. And then she backed it up on Sunday with 20 points and 16 rebounds against the Bunbury Slammers. So Willetton sit third. They've, looking at their upcoming schedule, they've got a pretty favourable outcome. They'll be hoping to try and sneak into that top two and beat the Joondalup Wolves for, I guess, home court advantage throughout the playoffs.
Now, Sammy Whitcomb, we've spoken about her on the show, particularly when she was back playing earlier in the season. She is the poster girl for building and launching a career of playing in a state league, namely in Western Australia. Robbie Ryan used NBL1 West as a platform last season into the WNBL. Surely she's a package-made import ready to go in the WNBL, Greg?
Yeah, you've summed that up perfectly, Meg. We talk about, similar to what Devondrick Walker's done in the men's competition, and Robbie Ryan's come and just dominated throughout the season, and as the season's progressed, she's playing better and better. She had 32 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists against the Flames on Saturday. And so if I was a WNBL team that's sort of looking around for someone that, she proved herself in the WNBL season, maybe didn't put up the numbers that, say, Sammy Whitcomb does, but, she's playing with a lot of confidence. I know that's what she battled early in her, I guess, WNBL career, but I love what she's doing. She's got a little bit of flair. She's certainly plays with a lot of passion. So I'm definitely a fan here. And if she doesn't have an agent, put my name there because I'd love to represent her in the WNBL.
Greg, I think you and I are going to be joint presidents of the Robbie Ryan fan club. It's a great story, and even just within that WNBL season, she had a bit of a rocky start in round one, but she really helped Perth Lynx to an incredible winning streak that elevated them into the finals, and that's all on the back of an NBL1 West campaign last season. So sign her up, DM Greg, for further details. You mentioned Devondrick Walker, so let's turn focus now to the men's side of NBL1 West, because he's heating things up yet again.
Yeah, well, I think when teams are so dominating and they lose a couple of games, people are quick to sort of think that the wheels are falling off, and that's what happened over here. When the Flames lost against Eastern Suns and then Geraldton, people thought, is this the end of the Rockingham Flames? And they've come back. They had, in terms of a weekend where they could prove that they were championship contenders and back in the fold, they certainly did that. They played Willetton Tigers and beat them by 40 points. Like, Willetton were sitting at second on the ladder prior to this weekend, and then they played Joondalup Wolves on their home court and beat them quite convincingly. And Devondrick Walker, this last 2 weeks, he dropped 51 points last week. This week he had 32 points in just 23 minutes against Willetton, 35 against the Wolves, and with 7 assists, and he shot 14 from 24 from the three-point line. Like, that is mind-boggling numbers. And I guess, you cast your eyes across the league and you see Jason Kadee drop 50, Isaac White continue to dominate. And I speak to Devondrick consistently, and he has to be able to display those results and those performances week in, week out. It helps that the Rockingham Flames are continuing to win. And I want to give a special mention to Cody Hill. He's a guy that came across from the Bunbury Slammers last year, a young fella. Ryan Godfrey's been injured for a considerable amount of time due to concussion. And Cody Hill, they found something there, a guy that's a bit of a spark plug off the bench. And yeah, the Flames are rolling, and they're going to certainly be tough now. They sit on top of the ladder.
It's going to be fascinating to see what happens for them, but also Devondrick over the next couple of weeks. And that's the same for Joondalup, because they are reaching crunch time, Greg.
Yeah, I'm a very, I guess, glass half full sort of guy, and very positive. But there has to be some alarm bells ringing for the Joondalup Wolves. They recruited some potent pieces this off-season. Brian Michaels, Mathang Muo, Quinton Dove, an American import, and then returned CJ Turnage. Now, unfortunately, they've lost Jonathan Wade for injury, from my understanding, for the season. But there's got to be pressure on them. They're tied for 6th or 7th spot right now. They've lost 3 in a row. The games that they've lost are against teams that they will have to beat in the playoffs. We've sort of spoken about them. Yes, been inconsistent, but you have to beat those top teams to be, I guess, considered as title threats. And never want to put pressure on coaches and whatnot. But the Joondalup Wolves are a team that, every single year in, year out, you're expecting that they're going to be top 4 and championship contenders. And for a team that, have spent a considerable amount of money, bringing in 2 imports and bringing in, high quality locals, these next few weeks are massive for them. And that starts, they play against Perth Redbacks this weekend. On Friday night, Perth Redbacks have already beaten Geraldton Buccaneers. I think they've beaten Perry Lakes and Rockingham. And if the Joondalup Wolves lose this game and are on a 4-game losing streak, certainly I think there's going to be some issues for them.
Definitely a watch this space, and we'll have our eyes peeled on that one on Friday night when they play the Redbacks, and I'm sure we'll chat about it again next week. Greg, thanks so much for your time. Enjoy the weekend action coming up, and we'll see you again next week.
Thanks as always, Meg. My absolute pleasure.
Well, round 12 has been completed in NBL1 North, and it brought to a halt a winning streak. John Guana, welcome. Tell us what's happened to the Wizards.
Yes, the first and last undefeated, I should say, not the first, the last undefeated team tasted their first defeat this round. It was the Northside Wizards women. They had been playing with a little bit of fire recently, and it came back to bite them this weekend. On Friday night, they dropped a really close one to Rockhampton, 83-82. Northside led by 6 at the half, but unfortunately for them, they couldn't maintain that lead. A.J. Johnson hit a 3 to cut the deficit at the end with 8 seconds left to 1. Lauren Hurd then went to the free throw line, had an opportunity to ice it for Rockhampton, missed both of the free throws, but unfortunately Wizards couldn't get a shot off in time, and that was it. Their undefeated start to the season comes to an end. Still sitting pretty well at 13-1, and they do have a comfortable lead, but again, undefeated team goes down. That's always going to be big news. And I had Courtney Woods on In the North with me a couple weeks ago, and she did say, maybe it is good, not that you ever want to lose, but maybe it is good to taste defeat before going into the finals. Well, the Wizards have now. Woods had a great game in that one. She's still the MVP favorite when you ask me. 34 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists. But Lauren Hurd, even though she missed those 2 free throws, had an amazing game as well. 32 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. Lara McSpadden nearly with the double-double, 17 points and 9 rebounds. And Rockhampton had a great weekend. They picked up 2 or 3 wins, and none bigger than the win against the Wizards.
Now, if my eyes were just beating around, John, it's because I was thinking. Now, Courtney Woods, that would be her first loss since January, I reckon, because Townsville Fire were on a 16-game WNBL winning streak, and then she's gone straight into NBL1. So that's a long time between defeats for Courtney Woods.
It sure is, but guess what? They bounced back the next day and had a great win against the Pirates. So right back to her winning ways.
That's all she knows, that's for sure. Now let's talk about Townsville, because they had a comeback, albeit without Steph Reid.
Yeah, and a good win. Any win without Steph Reid in the lineup is a great win. It was really tough for Townsville. They were down by 20 at halftime to Mackay. They were down by as much as 22 points, but they got themselves back into this one, scoring about 12 straight in the third quarter. They were able to fight back. Mackay retook the lead in the fourth quarter. They were up by 6, but the Flames just were able to pull away for their third straight win. A really good win, like we said, without Steph Reid. Alex Fowler. I am shocked that we still haven't heard anyone sign Alex yet for the upcoming WNBL season. She's a superstar in the making, in my opinion. 32 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. Magella Carey had a great game in place of Steph Reid. She nearly had a triple-double, 13 points, 11 rebounds, and 7 assists. And Townsville now, 3 straight wins. They're going to be without Steph for a little bit here, and they're sitting outside the 8. They need to make a run. They've started it a few weeks ago. Let's see if they could build and continue this momentum.
Finally, it was a very special celebration for Logan at the weekend, and they marked that celebration in big style.
They certainly did. It was a huge win. It was the game of the week against Cairns. Cairns came in super hot. Logan, people were knocking them, saying they haven't had the offensive production that we've come to expect from them. Well, guess what? They put up 103 against Cairns. It was impressive right from the start. They jumped out to a huge, huge lead and never let their foot off the throttle in this one. All 5 starters scored in double figures. They shot almost 56% from the field, 50% from 3, and 91%, nearly 92% from the free throw line. super, super efficient. They beat Cairns at their own game, getting out in transition, getting a lot of easy buckets, but being patient and getting open shooters their shots. When it wasn't there, they ran half court. When there was an opportunity to punish in transition, they did. Again, Michaela Roof, probably a quiet stat line for her with only 18 points and 14 rebounds. So the 20 and 20 didn't happen, but they didn't really need it this night in Logan. Everyone who touched the floor scored for the Thunder, and they are building a ton of momentum. 6 straight wins now. They're up to third on the ladder. They've over Darwin now on percentage points, and they're looking really ominous. We talked about them earlier in the year with a slow start. It was something that they expected. This offensive explosion, though, from Logan was always coming, and I'm glad I got to call it on the game of the week.
Yeah, that was awesome to see. Now let's move focus to the men's action now. And there's something about 52, John.
Yeah, we had a record set last week with Jason Kadee dropping 52. Who would have thought 2 weeks in a row we'd have an NBL1 North player dropping 52? This week it was Kai Stattmann from Cairns in the game against Ipswich. It was a 111-98 win against the Force in Ipswich in the third game of a triple header. And the most impressive thing for me, not that he dropped 52 points, because that's amazing, but they had an absolute stinker the night before in the game of the week against Logan. They only scored 68 total team points on Saturday. Here comes Kai Stattmann dropping 52 on Sunday, and he did it primarily guarded by Nathan Sobey and guys in the NBL. Kai Stattmann, 52 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. He had 33 field goal attempts, which certainly sounds like a lot, but he hit 21 of them. He was super efficient. He didn't shoot at a highly efficient clip from the three-point line. He was only 7 of 16. I mean, come on, Kai, give us a little bit more than that. And he only got to the free throw line 3 times. So for me, that's what makes it really the most impressive thing is he did a lot of his work from inside the paint. Only 7 threes, 21 of his 52 from the three-point line. Outside of that, it was a few free throws, and a lot of it was at the rim. Cairns bounced back in a huge way with this win, and led by Kai Stattmann, 52 points. I mean, Megan, we talked about it last week. We couldn't believe that Jason Kadee did it. We probably thought subliminally we would never see it again or anytime soon. And here it is next week, and another player does it. Unbelievable performance from Kai Stattmann in that one. And Cairns had 2 wins in the 3 games on the weekend, and they're also sitting in a pretty good spot at the moment, comfortably in 7th after those 2 or 3 wins.
Incredible stuff by the Stattmann. Now winning runs have continued for both Logan and the Caps.
Yeah, Logan and the Capitals continue their winning ways. I want to start with Brisbane in this one because they've picked up their 5th straight win. They only had 1 win a few weeks ago. They were sitting towards the bottom of the ladder. They are slowly but surely making their way up towards that 8th spot, and they're now in contention for a shot in the 8. With the 5 straight wins, they're now 6-8, and it was a great win for them on the weekend against Rocky. This Rocky team, I can't believe they only have 1 win. They're a really good team. They're always a tough out, and they made the Capitals work for this one. The Caps got the win, 100-94. Lockie Dent has been phenomenal since coming back from injury. He had 34 points and 5 rebounds to go with 2 assists in that game. Nick Stoddard's back as well from injury, coming in off the bench with 12 points, and Trevor Lakes had 17 for the Capitals. 5 straight. They're at 6-8. They're on 13th, but it is a very, very fluid gap from pretty much 4th down to around that 13th spot. So anything could happen. Cap's done a great job to get themselves back into finals contention. And Logan, what more can we say about this Logan team? 12 straight wins. I mentioned it just before. They beat Cairns on Saturday night in the game of the week, 100-68. The game was a 1-point game after the first quarter, and then Logan just absolutely took Cairns apart in that one. Super, super efficient. Again, very similar to the women's team, getting out in transition, scoring some easy buckets, making it rain from 3. Everyone got themselves involved. Majok Dang, another MVP-like performance, 23 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists. Sean Bruce also had 17 and 3, and Logan showing why they're at the top of the ladder at the moment. They got a huge game coming up this weekend against Ipswich. And Ipswich, poor Ipswich, they have a tough weekend. They got Logan Saturday and then Gold Coast on Sunday. So it could be an interesting follow-up next week to see where Ipswich is after this big weekend coming up for them, facing the top 2 teams in the comp.
Yeah, that's a hell of a double. And John, let's finish with Rip City. They had a stirring win. Can it get them back on track?
I think myself and Rip City fans certainly hope so. A crosstown rivalry game can certainly swing your fortunes, and Rip City dropped the opener of the season to Sunshine Coast, but they got a bit of revenge this weekend. It was a 184 win against the Phoenix. It was a 30-20 start to the game for Rip City. That set them in good stead because it was pretty even throughout the rest of the game. Second and third quarters were pretty close, but then again they ran away with it in the fourth quarter, pulling away with a 26-18 fourth quarter win. Kawatnoy had probably one of his top offensive games. He had 40 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 assists. He was super efficient as well. 13 of 22 from the field, 6 of 10 from 3. Matt Kenyon had a great game, 16 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists. And Verl Williams got the start this one. He had 16 points, 3 rebounds, and 5 assists. Rip City also in that mix. I just said before that 4 through to like 13 is really fluid. The team in fourth place right now is Southwest. They have a 9-6 record. North Gold Coast is fifth at 7-5, and then we look at Caps. They're at 6-8. Sunshine Coast Phoenix 6-7. Rip City at 6-7. So a lot of fluidity still with 4 rounds to go. It's shaping up to be a phenomenal finish up here in the NBL1 North competition.
Well, Kadee, Stattmann, Guana, all dominating NBL1 North. John, thanks for the chat as always, and look forward to doing it again this time next week.
Thank you so much, Megan. I can't wait.
Thanks for joining us on another massive edition of the NBL1 show. Great to chat to Jack Davidson. Really enjoyed discussing all things NBL1 with our imports over the last few weeks. Hope you enjoyed that chat as well. Well, we are coming to the pointy end of the season, so some massive crunch games right around the country this weekend. You can catch them on KO Freebies, all of the latest information and stats on the app, and stay tuned to our socials too, and we'll see you again next week.